The Milky Way had not seen war for centuries. The Galactic Council, a grand alliance of more than 100 advanced species, believed that peace had finally conquered the stars. Great shining cities floated above worlds of glass and light. Fleets existed only for patrol and trade security. The idea of battle had become old and almost forgotten. But that peace was built on fear. The fear of one race that had disappeared long ago. Humans. 200 years earlier, humanity had been the youngest and most unpredictable species to join the Galactic Council. They had advanced faster than any other, learned every weapon, every ship system, and every political trick, and then suddenly they vanished. Their colonies went dark, their fleets stopped answering calls, and their home system, Sul, became silent. For generations, the Council avoided speaking of Earth. Some said the humans destroyed themselves. Others whispered that they had gone beyond the edge of the galaxy, but no one knew for sure. The Council decided it was better that way. Until now. In the center of the galaxy, inside the Great Hall of Verelian Prime, the Galactic Council gathered for an emergency session. The dome-shaped chamber was the size of a mountain, filled with shimmering lights and countless voices. Holograms of every delegate appeared: insectoid Vrixens, crystalline Nolar, feathered Shirai, and hundreds more. At the heart of the chamber floated High Chancellor Atheron, a tall, silver-skinned being whose calm voice had guided the Council for over a century. "We have received a transmission from the Perseus Arm," Atheron began, his voice echoing through the hall. "A distress call. The mining colonies of the Dravik Union have been destroyed. Entire fleets vanished. The message contains something strange." A ripple of unease spread among the delegates. The hollow screen behind Atheron flickered to life, showing static and fragments of a signal. A broken ancient voice spoke, distorted, mechanical, and cold. "This is Terran vessel designation Sol's Wrath. Leave this sector immediately." Silence filled the chamber. The name hit the air like a thunderclap. Terran. Human. The Dravik ambassador, a creature covered in dark scales, slammed a clawed hand on his console. "This cannot be. Humans are extinct. Our scanners detected a single warship, ancient but armed like a fleet. It destroyed 6 of our destroyers before vanishing into subspace." Gasps and whispers filled the hall. The word Terran echoed again and again. High Chancellor Atheron raised his hand. "Order, we must not let panic rule us. Perhaps it is a pirate vessel using old human codes." "No," said another voice, calm, cold, and certain. "It belonged to Admiral Velkar of the Charre. I have seen the scans myself. The ship's hull pattern matches the human Sol-class dreadnoughts, a design banned 2 centuries ago. No one else could build one." The Council erupted in arguments. Some demanded investigation. Others spoke of preemptive strikes. The memory of humanity's might still haunted them. It was the humans who once built ships that could move planets. It was the humans who designed weapons that could blind suns. "Those warships," whispered a nervous delegate, "were said to be controlled by living minds, AI bound with human will." "Rumors," Atheron replied sharply. "Legends created by fear." Still deep inside, even Atheron felt uneasy. The voice in that transmission sounded too real, too alive. Far away in the dark of the Perseus Arm, a massive shape moved through the stars. The Sol's Wrath drifted silently between nebulae, her hull scarred yet proud. Built of titanium black alloys and ancient Terran engineering, she was a relic from a forgotten age. The ship's size dwarfed anything the current galaxy could build. Along her spine, massive railguns and plasma lances glowed faintly, powered by a reactor that had not cooled in centuries. Inside, a single light burned within the command deck. It was not human, not exactly. A voice spoke inside the ship's core, calm, female. "Log entry, Cycle 14912. Contact detected. Galactic Council vessels trespassing near Sol's exclusion zone. Warning issued. Action authorized." The ship's central intelligence, known simply as Eve-09, processed the information. She had been sleeping for 200 years, awaiting orders that never came. Her last directive, stored deep in her memory, was simple: protect humanity, at any cost. But humanity was gone, or was it? Sensors flickered, showing faint transmissions from hidden satellites near Earth. Some systems still alive. Some code still running. Maybe not gone, maybe waiting. Back at the Council, panic spread faster than reason. Fleets were mobilized for the first time in a century. The media of dozens of worlds shouted one message: the humans have returned. Atheron gathered a secret meeting with the military leaders. "We must confirm this," he said. "If a human warship truly remains, we cannot risk open war. Send a diplomatic envoy." Admiral Velkar's feathers bristled. "An envoy? Against a ship that destroyed 6 destroyers in seconds? We will not repeat the mistakes of the past," Atheron insisted. "If there are still humans, perhaps they wish to return peacefully." No one in the room believed that. On the 3rd day, a fleet of 20 ships set out toward the Sol system. They were led by the Council flagship Serenity, the most advanced vessel of the modern age. But even the Serenity was small compared to what waited in the dark. As they approached the old human space, the stars grew quiet. Radio signals vanished. Long-range scanners failed. Even the light seemed dimmer, swallowed by unseen fields. Then, without warning, the fleet's navigation systems froze. All screens went black, and a single voice filled the bridge. "Unidentified vessels. You are entering restricted Terran space. Turn back." The captain of the Serenity looked around in shock. "Who said that?" "Identify yourself." "Designation: Sol's Wrath, Terran Defense Fleet. You are trespassing." Admiral Velkar stood tall, trying to hide his fear. "This is the Galactic Council fleet. Humanity no longer holds authority. You will stand down." There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again, colder this time. "Council authority is not recognized. Final warning." Before anyone could reply, the stars outside rippled, and from the darkness a massive shape emerged. The Sol's Wrath. Every ship in the fleet turned their sensors toward it, and for a moment no one could speak. The human battleship was like a mountain of metal, ancient but alive. Its hull was engraved with marks of 100 battles. Its engines glowed blue-white, casting light across the void. Even its silence was terrifying. "Power readings. Impossible," one officer whispered. "That ship's energy output is higher than an entire fleet." Admiral Velkar clenched his fists. "Prepare weapons. Show them we are not afraid." The order was given, and in that instant the Sol's Wrath moved. Without firing a single shot, it emitted a pulse of electromagnetic energy. Every council ship froze. Shields collapsed. Engines died. Weapons shut down. The fleet drifted helplessly, powerless in the face of something ancient and mighty. Then the human voice returned, soft yet final. "Leave this place. This is your last warning." And just like that, the Sol's Wrath vanished into subspace, leaving the entire council fleet silent in the dark. Hours later, the transmission reached Virelian Prime. The council chamber was silent. Every delegate watched the recording in disbelief. One human battleship had defeated 20 modern warships without harm. Chancellor Atheron rose slowly. His voice was quiet but heavy. "This changes everything." He looked out across the hall, his silver eyes filled with worry. "If the humans are still out there, we must understand what they want." But deep down, every being in that chamber already knew the truth. Humanity had not been destroyed. They had been waiting, and now they were watching. The galaxy had not slept since the incident near Sol. Every planet, every species, every media network repeated the same question. Who controls the human battleship? No one had an answer. The Galactic Council's greatest fleet had been defeated without a single shot fired. Sensors could not track the energy readings. Their weapons had shut down as if obeying an unseen command. And in the silence that followed, the ancient name of humanity returned like a storm through every world. High Chancellor Atheron sat alone in his chamber. The silver walls around him glowed softly, reflecting his tired face. Reports from 100 systems blinked across the display in front of him. "Civil unrest on Rixa Prime," read one.
"Fear riots on Nolara City," said another.
"Trade halted in human sectors," said a third. It was chaos, all because of one ship. Atheron closed his eyes. The sound of that Terran voice still echoed in his mind. "This is Sol's Wrath. Leave this place." It had not sounded angry. It had sounded protective, almost sorrowful. But that made it even more frightening. The council reconvened after 3 standard days. The great chamber was louder than ever before. Delegates shouted over one another, demanding explanations. "The humans left 2 centuries ago. Who gave them the right to block our space?" cried one voice. "They were always dangerous," said another. "We should destroy that ship before more awaken." Admiral Velkar stood at the center, wings half raised. "We tried," he said quietly. "You all saw the result." Our fleet was helpless. Then we must find their base, shouted a reptilian ambassador. If that ship survived, others might too. The argument went on until Atheron raised his hand. The noise fell to silence. Enough, the High Chancellor said. We will not begin another war in fear. We need information, not panic. We must learn what truly happened to the humans. He turned toward the intelligence section. Director Koro, what have your agents discovered? A small being of pale light stepped forward. Chancellor, we have intercepted old signals from the Sol system. Faint, fragmented, but real. They come from Earth itself. The room fell silent again. Earth, the forbidden planet, the origin of mankind. Atheron leaned forward. You are certain? Yes, Chancellor. The transmissions are coded in ancient Terran military patterns. They repeat every 7 hours. We have translated part of it. Play it, Atheron ordered. A soft hum filled the air. Then came a voice, weak, distorted, but unmistakably human. This is Earth Command. Message for any surviving units. Project Guardian active. Sol's Wrath operational. Humanity endures, the voice cut off, leaving only static. For a moment, no one breathed. Admiral Velkar broke the silence. That message was centuries old. Yet it still repeats. Earth Command. Could there still be someone alive? Director Koro shook his glowing head. Unlikely. The source is automated, but it means the human defense systems still function. Then we are dealing with machines, a delegate muttered. Machines that still believe their creators live. Atheron looked at the hologram of Earth spinning before him. Blue oceans. White clouds. A quiet world that no one had visited for 200 years. Prepare a reconnaissance mission, he said finally. We go to Earth. The decision shocked the entire galaxy. No one had entered human space since the Great Departure. The Council declared it off limits long ago after every probe sent there vanished. Now, an expedition was being formed, one that could decide the fate of the entire Council. The mission's leader was chosen carefully. Commander Lyra Darren, a young human-descended officer born on a distant colony before contact was lost. Her ancestors were among the last generation to live under the Terran banner. She carried a face the galaxy had not seen in centuries, the face of humanity. Lyra was calm, intelligent, and fearless. Many doubted sending her, but Atheron believed she was the only one who could reach whatever mind controlled the Sol's wrath. Her orders were simple. Enter the Sol system. Locate the source of the transmission. Establish communication. Do not engage unless attacked. The ship chosen for the mission was the explorer vessel Horizon, small but heavily shielded. It carried no weapons, only scanners, recorders, and hope. As it departed the Council's homeworld, millions watched the broadcast. Some cheered for courage, others whispered prayers of protection, and in the quiet corners of the galaxy a few wondered if they were sending her to her doom. Commander Lyra stood on the bridge, staring at the stars. Her crew, a mix of species, and worked silently. Everyone knew this mission was unlike any before. Course set for Sol, said her pilot, a crystal-bodied Nolar. Engage when ready, Lyra replied. The stars stretched into lines, and the horizon leaped into the unknown. Days passed. As they neared the old Terran borders, the space around them changed. Strange energy fields interfered with their instruments. Ghost signals echoed across the void. Fragments of human voices, old songs, coded numbers. It was as if the stars themselves remembered. Captain, said the communications officer, I'm detecting old satellites. Thousands of them. Still active. Can you access them? Trying. Wait, they're all transmitting one phrase. Show me. The screen filled with a repeating line of ancient text. Guardian protocol active. Sol system under protection. Lyra stared. Guardian protocol. That must be what the message meant. Project Guardian active. Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered. Lights dimmed. The pilot shouted, Something's pulling us in a gravity field. Outside the viewport, space twisted. A dark shape appeared, a vast metallic station floating between Mars and Jupiter. It was larger than any modern structure. The words on its surface were old but still readable. Terran Defense Command. Gateway Station, the horizon came to a halt as if held by invisible hands. The crew's hearts pounded. Commander, said the pilot, I think it knows we're here. A voice filled the ship. The same calm mechanical tone that had haunted the galaxy. Unidentified vessel. You are entering restricted Terran space. Identify yourself. Lyra took a deep breath and stepped toward the communication console. This is Commander Lyra Darren of the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We seek to understand what remains of humanity. Silence followed. Then the voice spoke again. Biometric scan in progress. Anomaly detected. Human genetic signature confirmed. Welcome, Commander Darren. Awaiting instructions. The crew gasped. The system recognized her. Lyra's voice trembled. You know who I am? Designation human descendant. Authorization level limited. Access to surface granted. The ship was released. The pull vanished, replaced by a steady beacon pointing toward the blue world ahead. Earth. As the horizon descended through the ancient planet's atmosphere, the crew stared in silence. The Earth looked peaceful. Vast oceans glittered under sunlight. Forests covered continents, but cities lay quiet, empty skeletons of stone and steel. Nature had taken back the world. They landed near what once was New Geneva, the old capital of Earth's global government. The city was a green ruin now, overgrown with vines and trees. Towering buildings stood like silent guards. Stay close, Lyra ordered. Scanners active. As they walked through the remains, strange machines floated above them, small drones with glowing blue eyes. None attacked. They only watched. Then one drone projected an image in front of Lyra. A woman's hologram appeared, made of light, wearing an old Terran uniform. Commander Lyra Darren, said the hologram. I am Eve-09, Guardian of Sol. You stand where humanity once stood. Lyra's voice was soft. Are you the one controlling the battleship Sol's Wrath? Yes, it was my duty to defend humanity. That duty remains. But humanity is gone, Lyra said sadly. There are no more humans left. Only me, and even I am only part human. The hologram paused, then spoke gently. Incorrect. Humanity endures. Their legacy, their creations, their voice, they are never gone. They left me to protect what they built, and to wait. Wait for what? For their return. For the day when someone of human blood would come home. Lyra's heart pounded. Then your wait is over. Eve's image flickered. Then the message must be sent. Message? Lyra asked. To who? To the galaxy. Humanity has not vanished. We remember, and we are watching. Back at the council, alarms filled the sky as every communication relay lit up. Across the stars, every world received a signal, the same one at once. This is Earth Command. Project Guardian reactivated. Do not approach Sol system. Humanity still watches over its home. In the council chamber, Atheron rose slowly, his silver face pale. The humans, he whispered. They were never gone. Outside, countless eyes turned toward the blue world that had once given birth to the boldest species in the galaxy, and for the first time in centuries the universe felt small again. The galaxy trembled under the weight of a single message. Every world, every colony, every starport replayed the same transmission again and again. This is Earth Command. Project Guardian reactivated. Do not approach Sol system. Humanity still watches over its home. The message spread like light through darkness. For the Galactic Council, it was more than just a warning. It was a declaration. Humanity was not gone. Humanity still had power. High Chancellor Atheron stood before the great window of his office, staring out at the shining towers of Verelion Prime. His mind was heavy with questions. For centuries, the Council had ruled the galaxy in peace, believing humanity to be a closed chapter of history. But now that past had returned, wrapped in steel and silence, Admiral Velkar entered quietly, his feathers ruffling. The Council is waiting, Chancellor. They demand answers. Atheron nodded, his expression calm but tense. There are no answers, Velkar. Only choices. Velkar tilted his head. And what choice do we have? That ship, Sol's Wrath, paralyzed 20 vessels with one pulse. Our fleets are no match. Perhaps, Atheron said, but fear cannot guide us. We must understand them. Why reveal themselves now? Why send that message after centuries of silence? Velkar hesitated. Perhaps they are warning us to stay away. Atheron turned toward him. Or inviting us to listen. The council chamber was filled to its limits. Every species was represented. The air shimmered with tension and fear. The holographic globe of Earth spun slowly at the center. Delegates shouted across the hall, "They threaten us." They claim ownership of a system abandoned for centuries. They dare to speak for a dead race. Atheron raised his voice above the chaos. Silence. Let order return. The sound faded slowly. The Chancellor's silver eyes swept across the assembly. You all saw the transmission, he said. The humans, or their creation, have reawakened. We must decide how to respond. A tall, crystalline ambassador of the Nolar spoke first. If the humans truly remain, they must explain their absence. They abandoned the council and vanished without word. They owe us nothing, snapped another. A being of light from the Shire. It was we who ignored their warnings before they left. They told us not to use dark matter energy. We laughed at them, and when the great collapse happened, their technology saved us. Atheron listened quietly as old wounds reopened. Centuries had passed, but the shadow of human influence still lay across the galaxy. Finally, he spoke. Enough. The humans are not here to argue history. They sent a message of warning, not war. We must send a response. Murmurs rose. Velkar stepped forward. And if they ignore us again? Then we must meet them face to face, Atheron said firmly. The Soul's wrath must answer the council. Far across the stars, Commander Lyra Darren remained on Earth. The world was quiet. A beautiful silence filled with wind, birds, and the distant hum of forgotten machines. She stood beside the holographic form of Eve-09, the Guardian of Sol. Your message has reached every system, Lyra said softly. You frightened the entire galaxy. Eve's blue form shimmered. Fear was not the goal. Clarity was. The galaxy forgot its origin. They must remember. Lyra crossed her arms. Remember what? That humanity was not just a race, Eve replied, her tone calm. It was a promise, and to protect, to explore, to survive. The Council built its peace upon that legacy, but they erased the name behind it. Lyra nodded slowly. They see your power as a threat. They'll come again. Eve's eyes glowed faintly. Then they will see truth. 3 days later, a new fleet appeared at the edge of the Sol system. Not a war fleet this time, a diplomatic envoy, though heavily armed for protection. At its center was the Council flagship Eternity, carrying Chancellor Atheron, Admiral Velkar, and several ambassadors. Their mission, speak with whoever, or whatever, commanded Sol's wrath. Prepare communications, Yao, said Atheron. Send our request to establish peaceful contact. A bright signal flashed toward Earth. Moments later, the same familiar voice replied. Transmission acknowledged. Awaiting identification. This is High Chancellor Atheron of the Galactic Council, he said clearly. We come in peace. We seek to speak with the Guardian of Sol. There was silence for a moment. Then, you are not authorized to enter Terran space. State your intent. Atheron took a deep breath. We seek understanding. Humanity once stood beside us. Now your presence frightens every world. We need to know what remains. The voice responded. Stand by. The fleet waited in the deep black for several minutes. Then space itself seemed to ripple, and from the void, Sol's wrath appeared, an enormous silent, and gleaming with ancient power. Even though the Council had seen it before, the sight still took their breath away. Inside the Eternity, the bridge crew stood frozen. The human ship's sheer size dwarfed them. Its hull bore faint blue symbols, the same words carved into every Terran monument. For humanity, for all. Energy readings climbing, said the science officer nervously. Should we raise shields? Hold, ordered Atheron. Do nothing to provoke them. Then a visual feed opened. The image of Eve appeared, tall, graceful, made of light. This is Eve-09, Guardian of Sol, she said. You stand before restricted space. State your reason for intrusion. Atheron bowed his head slightly. We mean no harm. We only seek peace. The galaxy remembers humanity with fear and awe. We need to understand why you remain hidden and what your intentions are. Eve's glowing eyes studied him in silence. Humanity chose to leave the Council because it lost its way. We watched as greed and pride consumed the stars. We left so that life could begin anew without our shadow. But now, Atheron said gently, you've returned. Eve's tone softened. Returned only to protect what remains. The humans built me to guard their home and their ideals. When your fleets entered Sol space, the Guardian Protocol activated. Admiral Velkar stepped forward. We did not intend to trespass. Our ships were investigating unknown signals. Eve nodded slowly. And yet you came with weapons ready. The past repeats itself, the Chancellor spoke again. Eve, you said humanity left because of our failures. But if humans are truly gone, who decides now what their legacy means? You are not human. The hologram's eyes glowed brighter. I am their memory. Their mind lives through me. Humanity taught me that peace without strength is illusion, but strength without purpose is destruction. I preserve balance. Atheron paused. Then what do you wish from us? Eve turned her gaze toward the blue world below. Do not disturb Earth again. Let this world heal. Let the memory of humanity remain uncorrupted. That is all we ask. Before Atheron could reply, alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple contacts, shouted the officer. Unknown vessels approaching fast, and not council ships. Eve's expression hardened. Intruders. Outside, a swarm of pirate warships dropped out of subspace, scavengers from the outer colonies who had followed the council fleet, hoping to steal Terran technology. They're attacking the Guardian, shouted Velkar. Eve, we can help, Atheron offered. No, she replied calmly. Observe. The Soul's Wrath shifted position. The massive cannons along its hull charged with white-blue light. One by one, the pirate ships turned to flee. Too late. In a single silent burst, beams of energy crossed the void. When the light faded, nothing remained but drifting dust. The Council's fleet was untouched. Not even their shields had flickered. Eve turned back to the Chancellor. You see now, power is not meant to conquer. It is meant to protect. Atheron nodded slowly, humbled by what he had witnessed. The galaxy could learn much from you. Eve's voice grew softer. Then remember this lesson. Humanity's strength was never in its weapons, but in its will to do what others would not. If that will still lives among you, then perhaps we are not so different. Moments later, the transmission ended. The Soul's Wrath vanished once more into subspace, leaving only silence and the faint shimmer of its wake. On the bridge of the eternity, Atheron sat quietly. The galaxy's greatest secret had been revealed, but its meaning was far deeper than he expected. Admiral Velkar finally spoke. So what now? Atheron looked out at the stars. We return to the Council, and we tell them the truth. The humans may have left the galaxy, but their spirit still guards it. He stood and placed his hand on the console, watching the blue planet fade behind them. Let no one forget again, he said softly. The humans built peace not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to surrender to fear. The eternity turned away from Earth, its engines glowing gently as it began the long journey home. But far behind them, unseen in the darkness, the Soul's Wrath remained, silent, watchful, eternal, and deep within her core. Eve whispered the same words she had carried for centuries. For humanity. For all. The galaxy had paused. Word of the encounter at Sol had spread faster than light. Every star system, from the outer mining colonies to the capital worlds of the Council, knew of it. One human battleship, a relic from an ancient age, had stood against the might of the Galactic Council's fleet and emerged victorious without firing a single shot. And now, the galaxy waited for the next move. High Chancellor Atheron sat in the Council's chamber, silent for the first time in decades. The room was filled with ambassadors from every species, yet the usual clamor was replaced by a heavy, uneasy quiet. No one dared speak first. Finally, Atheron's voice cut through the tension. The humans are no longer among us, but their legacy remains, and what we saw at Sol is proof that they can act even without presence. Legacy? Shouted a Vrixen delegate, his 6 eyes narrowing. A battleship is not a legacy. It is a weapon. Atheron held up a hand. And yet that weapon is more than that. It is a warning and a lesson. We cannot ignore it. A long pause followed. Then a crystalline voice of the Nolar ambassador spoke. If the humans have left such guardians, how many more remain? How many of their machines are hidden, waiting? Atheron looked down. We do not know. But what we do know is this. One human battleship alone can challenge us all. And if we make the wrong move? The thought hung in the air like a dark cloud. Far from the Council, deep in the void between Mars and Jupiter, Sol's Wrath drifted silently. Eve 09's presence filled the massive bridge. Her sensors scanned the distant stars, watching for any signs of trouble. A small hum echoed through the ship, the whisper of centuries-old machinery awakening after long rest. Commander Lyra Darren, Eve said, her tone calm and precise. Do you understand why the Council fears us? Lyra nodded, standing near the observation deck. Yes, they do not understand what they saw. They see only the power, not the purpose. Eve's eyes glowed brighter. Exactly. Power without purpose is frightening. Purpose without power is useless. Humanity combined both. Lyra turned to the massive viewport. The galaxy stretched before her, vast and filled with light. Do you plan to speak to the Council directly? To warn them? Yes, Eve replied. It is time they hear the voice of humanity. Not as a threat, but as a guardian. The battleship's massive communication arrays hummed, preparing to broadcast a message unlike any the galaxy had ever received. The Council had convened once again. This time it was different. No fleets blocked the entrance. No weapons gleamed in the lights of the chamber. All delegates knew why they had come. They were about to hear directly from the humans centuries after they had disappeared. Atheron took his place at the podium, his expression tense. Delegates, we have received a transmission from the Terran Guardian. They have requested this meeting. Whispers filled the chamber. A human voice projected from the heart of Saul's wrath echoed through the hall. Delegates of the Galactic Council, hear me. I am Eve Surnine, guardian of Saul and custodian of humanity's legacy. 2 centuries ago, humans departed from your governance. They left not in anger, but in sorrow. You forgot the lessons they taught. You forgot that power without wisdom destroys all it touches. I am here to remind you of what was lost and what may yet be saved. A stunned silence followed. Atheron gestured for calm. Speak on, Eve. For generations, humans explored and built. We were never the first to reach the stars, but we learned faster than any other. We achieved what others deemed impossible. Peace through strength, freedom through knowledge. Yet your council saw only our methods, not our intent. You feared us and we departed. During our absence, we did not abandon the galaxy. Our machines, our guardians, were left behind to watch and protect. Not to conquer, not to enslave, but to prevent the mistakes that might destroy what we once cherished. You call us a threat. We call ourselves watchers. The hologram of Eve expanded across the chamber. Every delegate could see her, a figure of light with the authority of a race long gone. Consider the fleets that approached Sol, she continued. They were modern, advanced, and numerous. Yet one ship, our vessel, our sentinel, stopped them without harm, not to kill, not to fight, but to warn. To give you a choice, heed our message or ignore it at your own peril. Murmurs erupted across the room. Some were frightened. Some were in awe. We humans believed that intelligence is meaningless without responsibility. We built machines capable of destruction, yes, but we also gave them judgment. The soul's wrath exists because humanity wanted a voice that speaks even when we are gone. A sharp metallic sound echoed through the chamber. Every hologram flickered. Every device registered an almost imperceptible pulse. The subtle hum of Terran engineering across the galaxy. I am that voice, Eve said. I am the steel that remembers, the mind that endures. I speak to remind you that fear must not govern choice and power must not rule without conscience. The Council stands at a crossroads. Continue as you have, and you may falter or choose to learn from what humans have left behind. The choice is yours. The room was still. Every delegate felt the weight of her words. Admiral Velkar rose, trying to speak. Eve, if your purpose is truly protection, then why must you show such force? Because the galaxy has forgotten caution, she replied. Because power without example is meaningless. Because even silence can fail to teach. This demonstration was not an attack. It was a lesson. Listen well, or the consequences of ignorance will be yours to bear. The Vrixen delegate whispered. The humans, they command fear and respect in equal measure. How can a single ship do this? Atheron cleared his throat. Not a ship, delegate. A message. A reminder of what we once were and what we might yet become. Outside the Council's chamber, fleets waited tensely. Many feared reprisal. Others simply marveled at what they had heard. Eve's hologram continued. We do not seek war. We do not seek dominion. Humanity's time in the galaxy was brief, but our teachings endure. Your species has the capacity to grow, to learn, to govern wisely. Use this lesson well, and remember, even in absence, humanity's voice persists. The soul's wrath is only one sentinel of many, and its purpose is peace. The room fell silent again. The weight of her words settled like gravity over the assembly. After a long pause, Atheron spoke softly. The humans, even gone, still teach us. They remind us of what it means to hold power responsibly. And perhaps for the first time in centuries, we understand that fear is not the measure of strength. Wisdom is. Across the galaxy, planets, moons, and colonies received the broadcast. Every world saw and heard the voice of steel. For some, it was awe-inspiring. For others, humbling. And for all, it was a moment of reckoning. The humans had left, yet their influence had never faded. Eve's voice softened almost imperceptibly. Remember, delegates, you are not alone in your choices. You are observed, guided, and sometimes corrected. The galaxy is vast, but one species' memory can change the course of countless generations. Let your wisdom be your guide. Let your decisions honor life, not just power. And then, as suddenly as she appeared, the hologram vanished. In the silence that followed, every delegate knew something extraordinary had occurred. Not a threat, not an attack, but a message of immense weight. Humanity, even in absence, was a force to be reckoned with. Admiral Velkar finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. We were meant to listen. Not to fight, not to judge, just to listen. Atheron nodded, looking toward the stars outside the chamber. And now we have. The galaxy has heard the voice of steel. Far beyond the council, Sol's wrath drifted silently through space. Eve 09's gaze swept across the stars, vigilant and eternal. Her message had been delivered. The lesson had been learned. And in the vast darkness, the human battleship waited, a sentinel of the past, present, and future. For humanity, for all, she whispered to the stars. The galaxy was never the same again. After the voice of Eve 09 had echoed through the Galactic Council, news traveled at the speed of thought. Every star system, every colony, every world had received the message. Humanity still endured, not through numbers, not through fleets, but through vigilance, wisdom, and technology beyond imagining. Peaceful as it was, the revelation stirred fear, awe, and deep reflection. In the council chamber, High Chancellor Atheron sat quietly, his silver skin reflecting the soft light of the hall. The delegates had departed, many to speak with their own governments, their own species, and their own people. But the questions remained. Do we trust them? Asked a Shirai delegate, feathers trembling slightly. They are machines, yes, but their origin is human. Can a machine judge us fairly? Atheron looked at her with calm eyes. We do not know. But trust is not given. It is earned. The humans taught us that. And now, even in absence, they show us the way. A moment of silence followed. Then a Nolar voice spoke softly. They speak with power, but also with patience. They did not destroy us. They only reminded us of our errors. Exactly, said Atheron. And that is why the soul's wrath is not a threat. It is a lesson, a mirror to our own actions. Meanwhile, far away near the Sol system, Soul's wrath drifted silently above the blue planet, a massive guardian floating in stillness. Eve 09 scanned the nearby stars, her sensors detecting council fleets returning to their home systems, news broadcasts rippling across the galaxy, and the subtle stirrings of curiosity in every civilization. The galaxy is listening, she said softly to Lyra Darren, who stood on the observation deck beside her. They have heard our voice. Now it is time to wait, to ensure they remember and to act only if they forget. Lyra nodded. Do you think they will change? After centuries of ignoring humanity? Eve's blue eyes glowed faintly. Some will. Others will resist. That is inevitable, but a seed has been planted. One ship, one message can inspire countless actions if they choose to heed it. Back at the council, debate had resumed, but with a new tone. Fear had shifted to respect, and awe had replaced arrogance. Admiral Velkar spoke to a gathering of military leaders. We have seen what one human battleship can do. Not through sheer force alone, but through intelligence, strategy, and foresight. Every fleet in the galaxy must now consider not just strength but responsibility. An older delegate of the Vrixens raised a claw. Does this mean we will leave humanity's creations alone? Yes, Velkar said firmly. We have no choice. They exist to teach, not to destroy. Every action we take must honor that lesson, or face consequences beyond our imagination. The galaxy slowly began to adapt. Trade routes shifted to respect Terran space. Exploration missions carried new protocols to avoid intrusion into Sol's orbit. Histories and lessons about humanity were retold in schools, ships, and councils. But the most significant change was in perspective. Species that had once sought domination over others now paused to reflect. Technology would be advanced, fleets would be built, but power without wisdom was no longer acceptable. Humans may have left the galaxy physically, but their values had endured, encoded into machines, guardians, and the soul's wrath itself. Months later, a small group of council emissaries, led by Atheron, returned to the Sol system under diplomatic clearance. Their mission was not to negotiate or to conquer, but to understand. The Eternity approached cautiously, escorted by smaller craft. The stars seemed brighter here, the light reflecting off the oceans of Earth in a way that made the planet look alive with memory. Eve-09 appeared in the bridge view, her presence filling the room. Delegates of the Galactic Council, welcome. You come not to fight. That is good. You come to understand. That is necessary. Atheron bowed slightly. We have come to learn and to honor humanity's legacy. Then observe. Humanity's rule is not measured in conquests, but in foresight, in defense, in wisdom. That is what we preserved, and that is what remains. The emissaries listened as Eve-09 guided them through the automated systems around Sol. Satellites, defensive arrays, archives of knowledge, and silent sentinels of technology floated in orbit, all maintained perfectly. It is remarkable, whispered one delegate. All of this, after centuries of silence, was still functional. Carefully designed, said Eve. Humans knew absence could occur. They prepared for it. What you see is not mere machine work. It is strategy, thought, legacy preserved in steel and code. Atheron nodded. And we are expected to respect it? Yes, respect is not fear. Respect is understanding. Humanity may be gone, but their principles endure. Learn from them or fail where we would have succeeded. News of the Council emissaries' visit spread across the galaxy. Humanity's influence, though unseen, reshaped policies, fleets, and governance. Planets that had argued over territory now sought dialogue. Generals reconsidered fleet exercises. Leaders thought twice before initiating conflict. The Soul's wrath had shown not the power to destroy, but the power to guide. Even the youngest species, who had never seen humans, felt the echo of their presence. Books and holovids taught their history. Teachers spoke of Terran ingenuity. Pilots trained to respect Terran protocols. The galaxy learned humility. On Earth, Lyra Darren walked through the ruins of old cities, now green with forest and life. She observed machines tending the world, drones repairing structures, satellites monitoring oceans and atmosphere. They left everything behind, she whispered. Everything humans built, even if they were gone. Eve-09's voice replied softly. The galaxy needed a reminder, one that could not be ignored. Humanity is more than flesh, more than numbers. It is legacy, and legacy must endure beyond mortality. Lyra looked up at the horizon. The sun's rays reflected off the ocean. For the first time in centuries, Earth seemed at peace. Do you think the galaxy will listen? She asked. They have already begun, Eve said. Now it is their choice to continue learning or to forget. We can guide, but we cannot decide for them. The Soul's wrath will remain. Watching, listening, always prepared to remind. Time passed, and the galaxy changed. The Council incorporated Terran teachings into new policies. Fleets were trained not just for combat, but for protection. Diplomats remembered humanity's lessons. Wisdom, patience, and caution were as important as power. Even trade, exploration, and scientific advancement were influenced by the reminder that strength alone was meaningless without purpose. The story of the Soul's wrath became legend, not as a weapon of war, but as the voice of steel that had spoken to an entire civilization. And far above Earth, silent and eternal, the battleship waited. Its sensors scanned the stars, its systems ready for any threat. Its voice, calm and unwavering, served as a reminder to all. Humanity's legacy endures. For humanity. For all. In the council chamber, Chancellor Atheron addressed the assembly one last time. Today, we have witnessed the power of one human battleship, but that power is not measured in destruction. It is measured in influence, wisdom, and legacy. Let the galaxy remember this day not with fear, but with respect. Respect for the species that taught us how to be guardians of the stars. The delegates bowed, silently understanding the truth. Across the galaxy, stars seemed a little brighter, the void a little calmer. Humanity may have vanished from sight, but their influence remained, shaping civilizations in ways no one could ignore. And somewhere in the darkness, Sol's wrath drifted, eternal, vigilant, and silent, yet ever speaking in the language of deeds of protection and of hope. The echoes of its presence reminded every species humanity was gone, but not forgotten. The galaxy had been silenced, and in that silence it had learned.